Morning, it's Martin from Martin's Engine Service? Try Services. Um, Welcome to a bright and breezy but very cold morning here in West Norfolk. The sun has come through now after Storm Benjamin yesterday? Or the previous evening it started. Bits of trees flying everywhere. Is very, very nice, shall we say. Wind and rain lashing down in all directions. So I hid myself in the workshop yesterday, did a bit of machining, a bit of tinkering around and whatnot. And it cleared in the afternoon. Got leaves everywhere, so we have a big leaf sweeping operation in a minute. But we have a machine for the job. So I had a chat yesterday afternoon to the guy who owns the Vauxhall Vivaro with the running problem, misfiring, firing out the intake, rattling, banging, clanging, and generally very poorly. So he's given me the go-ahead to make some more investigations into this. So what I thought I'd do is I pulled in the workshop yesterday. Excuse me, the lurgy will not go away. So I got in the workshop and I've cleaned off all the wiring and a few fuel pipes and bits and bobs off the top of the head to have a look at this injector problem. What's the chances of getting them out? Now, at the end of my finger there, you just see that sort of like blackish line. That is where the cover and the injector sleeve overlap. So the cover's underneath that. So that whole lot has to come out. Now just look how bad that is in there. Now, there is a very basic, cheap puller tool you can buy, which is actually purchased and is getting it sent to me. We're going to give it a go. You basically unscrew the top part of the injector here, and there's a thread in there which you can actually get the tool onto. Now, whether this is going to work, I quite honestly don't think it will. But as he said, I think the tool was about $29.99 or $31.99, whatever it was. He said it's very cheap, it's worth a try. There's loads of these kits for sale, and some people seem to have success with them. As he said, for what it's cost, we can have a try. Worst thing that happens is we either break one of these off or we break the tool. One way or another, these injectors have pretty much had it, because this one is actually, if I can get the right place, it's actually corroded through. There's actually holes corroded in it through to the electrical part of the solenoid. Although I have managed to unscrew this one without any problem. So it's worth a try. Now, I've been thinking about this problem, and it's come to my sort of conclusion that I'm pretty adamant that the exhaust valves aren't opening on cylinder 4, but I cannot believe that this engine ran, excuse me, for probably week and a half or so with the valves hitting the piston, because the small rockers that are in there, they're tiny little things, would simply have snapped the second they got hit. In fact, they're designed to snap. So I can't think that was the problem. Now, he drove it for nearly a week with it making the high-pitched banging noise, which sounded, or the hard knock, which sounded like a piston hitting the head, because we suspected big end failure. That noise stopped, and then this misfiring manifested itself, and it was running quite well with the knock. The power was good, as he said, it accelerated fine, turbo worked. And then the knock stopped, and then it ran like this. Now, without looking in there, of course, I can't confirm anything. I did have another go. I've removed the breather from the top, and I had another try with my boroscope, but you cannot get anywhere into where you want to be. Now, obviously, I worked out the other day that this isn't the exhaust cam and inlet cam, but they are shared cams. So you haven't got, obviously, two peaks. This is the spare cam out of the scrap engine. Now, this is the cylinder 4. So obviously, if this was the intake cam only, you'd have the two peaks and they'd both be facing the same place. But one of them is intake, one of them exhaust. And on the corresponding cam will be the same. So I just thought that was something I had to be aware of, is the fact that it would have broken a rocker. Say that was exhaust and the other one was exhaust there, it would have broken those two and not two each side. So just got to remember it's a little bit unusual setup. So curiosity got the better of me, and I thought, well, if we're going to try and take the head off, we've got to take the timing chain cover off, obviously to move the timing components. So I thought, let's take that off today and check the physical cam timing and see if we can work anything out. So, cleaned off the front, pulleys, belt, bits and pieces. Engine mount's quite easy to get to. There's a big aluminium bit across there. Nothing too serious. And took the cover off. There's one thing on these covers that caught me out when I first did one of these. There's a bolt hidden here. There's an engine mount bolts through this alley boss. This is made in the cover. And there's a little bolt hidden in there. And when you put these back, you must thoroughly coat this with sealant. Otherwise, the oil will come through down the threads and straight out the front of the engine. So, just one of those little points. So that bolt is hidden there, and it caught me out. Because it looks for all the world like that aluminium part stays on the engine, and you slide the cover off it, but oh no. So, I found TDC. I put a bit of wire down the glow plug hole, moved the crank slowly, put the timing pin in the front of the block. There's the pin down there. And slightly weird on these, most engines, or most of the ones I've ever timed, of all the hundreds, you rotate the crankshaft that way until it hits the pin. But on this one, you have to back the crank off that way until it hits the pin. So that catches you out. And basically what you've got up here now is your pulley setup. So you've got, this is a fixed pulley onto the front cam, as we call it. And you've got, control there. And then what you've got is these three bolts hold this chain sprocket to that cam and also clamps the gear. There's a gear behind here to drive this one, and it clamps that. So you have to time this pulley to that camshaft at the same time as timing the chain. It sounds complicated, but it's not a major disaster if you've got the tool. Now, this is the tool. This kind of a funky bit of modern art. And you see it's got this offset slot here, and that corresponds with the slot in the cam here. So you have the offset to the top. Now, these two pins go into two holes in this into this sprocket here and there to hold that sprocket in place. That holds that cam in place, and then there's a bolt goes into there to retain it all. Now, I've just tried to put this on, and it's basically should be there, and it wants to go on down here. Oh, you can't see it, down here somewhere. So the cam timing has skewed round quite significantly. Now, I'm just thinking, obviously the crank's turning that way, so you think it would have shifted back. It's actually shifted forward. Oh. Yeah, it has. It's shifted forward, hasn't it? Because if it's all rotating that way, and the sprocket's jumped around there, say the sprocket's jumped like that, when you bring it back to TDC, yeah, the cam should be that way. So somehow it's jumped forwards, not backwards. Okay, intriguing. So, I mean, it's so far around that the pin here won't go in the hole because the hole's behind the chain. So that really does answer it. I'm just wondering, actually, whether or not, because it's skewed like that, that the cylinder that's firing, or trying to fire, is on the overlap and the inlet valves are open and something weird's happening like that. I'm a little bit inclined, actually, to retime this and turn it by hand and see how the compressions feel. And for the want of about 10 minutes, I may stick the chain cover back on, just with a few bolts. I mean, I know it's going to leak, but it's got to come off again. Put the pulley back on, plug in a few bits and pieces, and just see if it runs any better. I doubt it, but it's a little experiment. And then I might give me some idea where the next direction is with this to go. I mean, it needs the turbo replacing, but that doesn't look too hideous at all. There's a bracket to get to here, is easy. You've got a nut down there, 2 nuts from underneath. There's 4 nuts on the converter, oil pipes on the top, and the oil return is just at the back there. So it doesn't look, he says confidently, difficult to get off. So if we pull the head off in situ, if we can get the injectors out, what I'd like to save is this aluminium cover, because most of these M9R engines I've been looking at have the fuel rail down there, like the scrap engine I bought, with the different injectors, different cover, different fuel rail. And it seems that this is the later type. These are the solenoid injectors, and the other ones are the piezo crystal injectors that have the fuel line on the top. And it seems that this is the harder one to find. So I'd like to try and save that bit and maybe sacrifice the head. To my knowledge, one of the camshafts is the same and one of them isn't. Now, I was having a look yesterday just to confirm this and say this is the front cam. This has one bump there for the timing sensor. Now, the one that's in the van here now has a bump similar to this, but it's much wider and it has 2 ridges cast on the top. So I don't think they're interchangeable. Although I have discovered that the camshaft sensors are actually the same. I've lost that one now. Wherever it's gone. Yeah, they were the same. Oh, yeah, there it is. I actually cleaned this one up. It was grotty and it is the same. It's the same sensor. So whether or not that is in the same place on the van I've got now, I don't know. You've got to be careful with stuff like that. Because if you start thinking, I mean, obviously this cam's had it because the journals are so bad, but just thinking if you're trying to nick bits out of an earlier engine, that could catch you out badly. So I'm not sure what exactly direction, and I'm not sure what's going on here really, but I'm going to battle my leaf sweep up, and then I'm going to retime this and see how it feels. And say for a matter of half an hour's work, I'm half inclined to throw the basics on and run it. Put it this way, it can't get any worse. I mean, I had a real fun job moving it yesterday because it was parked outside the workshop out there. My truck normally lived, it was backed in there and I had to turn it round. And it won't go past 2,500 revs. So you basically have to keep it flat out and just stab the clutch to try and get it to move. And it's got no power whatsoever. So I'm just inclined to have a go. So and then I might know what's give me a bit more of a clue. You never know, it might run perfectly. I don't think so. I think that's where optimism overtakes logic on that one. Anyhow, enough of me rambling on about that. I shall leave you with a lovely view of this beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment I'm working on. This lake in here is some penetrating fluids, some water and some diesel, so it might be the magic mix. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this little update, and see, any of you got any ideas or thoughts, or you come across it with these at all, I'm rather interested to know. So I shall keep plugging away at it, and if anything happens, I'll make a little update. But for now, we'll leave it there. So thanks very much indeed for watching. It's very much appreciated. So please like and subscribe, and bye for now.